So guys, we have already seen a usage of a print function, that how does it helps to see a output of any object. But there are few important customization what we can do with a print function, which will help us to get a customized output of different objects. So let's see how to use them and see their importance. And we have seen how does it gives the output of one single object, but we can get the output of multiple objects also with the help of a print function. So let's say this is a string object. Now let's write one more string object. So let's say a. Now let's write a number object. Now let's write a list object. So any valid object we can put in these arguments and it will give us a output. Now you can see that we got a output of these different objects. But now let's say I don't want to see these output with a space separator, as even like let's say this a apple. Again, as this is a single object, but we cannot differentiate this output in our output, these two a and apple, whereas they are the part of a single string object. So how to do that? So whenever you see that this is a print function, so this print function uh, is having two by defaults parameter. One is the and by default and is the new line, and other one is a separator. These are the two arguments which contain, and this separator contains a by default is a space. So what we are seeing over here, that these different object output is coming with a space separator, that is because of this separator default parameter. So now let's customize it over here. So now let's use this separator, and now instead of this space, don't provide any space. Let's run it. So now you can see that there is no separation now in between these objects. But now instead of this, let's create a something which is different. So as you know, we have a tab collector, that's the, and with the tab collector it will create a more space when you use this print function. And then after this tab collector, let's say I want to see a output with a comma, or like before tab collector I'll put a comma over here. Let's run the output. So now we can see the different objects with a better separation, and now we can distinguish the outputs of different objects. Now let's see a different usage of a print function. So let's print it out these different objects. So you will be noticing down one thing, when we are printing out these different integer objects, all the outputs are coming in a different line, and that is happening because by default a print function contains this default parameter, that is a new line. So whenever we are getting a printout with the help of each print function, so in the end automatically it is creating a new line. So there is a new line in the end after this one. So that's the reason this two output is coming in a new line. But we can change it. So how? Let's put this and it now instead of a new line, let's say I want to see the output after the semicolon and with a one space. Now you can see that this two output came because over here we did not make it end with a new line but with a semicolon and a space. But if you'll do same thing with that 2, so now everything with a in a better in line. Now you can see that this way we have made a customization. But now you might be wondering that what is the utility of that. So let's see the utility. So let's say we have this string object. So let's say I as the and this string object contains this hello. And now as we have already seen in our tutorials or like in our previous part about dir, a built-in function, and what it does, it reveals the different methods associated with the object. So this dir function is revealing the different objects which are associated with a istr method. So now let's put this dir in a for loop. So for I in dir, and now let's print this I. So now you can see that everything is coming in a new line, all of these output, and we are even unable to see a whole consolidated output. So again, and now how it is happening in a for loop. So let's see with the visualization. So for loop, what it does, it goes and takes the each element from that. So first it went to this, so it take the first element and then print it out. So we get this add. Then again it made a loop and printed out the next element, which we got through this dir istr method. That was a class. And because we are using over here a print function, and as usual by default print puts a new line in the end, so that's the reason every item is coming in a new line. So now let's make it an end of it. Now instead of that, let's customize it and put a and now let's provide a semicolon and two spaces, and let's run the function. Now you can see that now we have a better output in a place. Now we can see all the methods which are associated with a string object in a one go and with a better formatting. So that's how sometimes it's really useful. Now let's understand one more thing, that we have a str method and a repr method, and by default this print function uses a str method. So for normal object it majority of the cases we do not have two separate str and repr method, but for few objects we have. So let's see a example with a datetime object. So let's import a datetime class from datetime module, and let's create a datetime object. So and let's see the current time. So datetime dot now, as we have this now method. If you will see now this print function is giving this output, but when I'll see a output with a directly with a Jupyter notebook, now you will see there's a different output. Because but let's say now you want to see instead of this output with the help of print function. So again you can use a explicit repr method over here. Now you will see this is a repr output, and if you want to see a str output explicitly over here, so now this is a str output, and we understand about them, these str and repr method outputs in a much more in details when we will talk about object oriented programming, as these things are important. But as this is a pretty beginning tutorial, so I'm not gonna go into that much detail, but it is just to reveal you that we have these different customization in a print function. So thanks guys, we have completed this video, and if you have learned something new, please like this video, and please for more content subscribe the channel. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.